evening. My name is Leroy Brown, and welcome to Bridging the Gap. I will be your moderator for tonight, and we have some very beautiful and distinguished ladies tonight. And we all talking about smart people. We got quite a few smart people on this show tonight, based on what they've done in their life in college. And I'm going to start on my right and have each one introduce themselves and tell us exactly who they are and what role they're going to play in this taping tonight. And I'll start on my right.
Okay, my name is Audrey Smith, and I work for the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. What that is, it's also known as ISAC with the C. A lot of people get it confused with ISAT, like the test. But basically, our mission is to make college affordable and accessible for all Illinois students. So I'm stationed, I like to say, in the Joliet Junior College District area. So I will be handling about 27 schools in Will County, but specifically I work at Bolingbrook and with Romeoville High School on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and also with two middle schools, Martinez and Lukanzik. And basically I'll be there to promote and make college more accessible for students that have no clue about college at all, even starting with middle schoolers, so they know how to go to college, what to do, what type of grades they need, and all that good stuff.
Wow. Well, hi everyone. My name is Brittany Greathouse. I recently graduated from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, and I currently work as a management consultant at Accenture. It's a consulting firm. I guess my role here today is to talk about college readiness, scholarship applications, I guess during your time getting ready to go to college and things of that nature.
Let's start with that.
My name is Dorletta Payton, and I am the Director of College and Career Readiness for Valley View School District. And I am here to talk about College Application Month in Valley View School District.
Okay.
My name is Idalia Cervantes. I graduated from Romeoville High School in 2010. I attended Joliet Junior College for 2 years and then went on to NIU, where I still am pursuing my bachelor's in community leadership and civic engagement. I'm also currently working at the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. So being a first-generation Latina to go to college has been quite an experience, which I will be sharing with all of you.
Okay, Ms. Dorletta, since this is your doing, we're going to ask you some questions. How is this and why is this important to you as far as college readiness?
So October Application Month is really a statewide initiative. And in fact, it's a nationwide initiative, and Audrey can talk about that a little bit more. But the idea is to get more Illinois students to go and to graduate college. And so as a result, what they want to do, because a lot of times kids that are either low income or first generation, they kind of delay because they're not familiar with the process. So the October Application Month is really to get students to start early. So we want all of the seniors in Valley View School District during the month of October to apply to at least one college. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. That can be a 2-year, 4-year trade school, etc. But we want them to get started in October so that that can get the ball rolling, and then they're not waiting until the end of the school year to get things started.
What is it about Bolingbrook and Romeoville have been selected by the Illinois Student Assistance? What is that all about?
So with us working with the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, and Audrey, as she said, is our representative, they are the ones that are in charge of the College Application Month. They're the ones who created it. So by us having Audrey with us, Audrey not only works with students, as she said, in the high schools and some of the middle schools, but she is also the person that does workshops, whether it's for parents, whether it's for students, and all of these things are to raise awareness for our community. That's why we're here, to raise awareness for the community about college and that college is possible for every student, and to encourage parents, students, and the community to get behind this initiative.
Okay. Audrey, I'm going to come back to you. Brittany, I think we've been knowing Brittany since she was about 8 years old, something like now. She's graduated from college. You know, this is unreal. That means somebody's getting old. You're getting old.
Not me.
Probably me.
No, I'll let you. Brittany, how do you play in all this? I know you were one of those students who always was a high achiever, even when you were younger, real young. You were a high achiever. How is this important to you? You've already graduated from college. You know, you got a job now. How is this important to you?
I think first it starts with parents. I had a great support system. My parents definitely pushed me, you know, A, obviously to get a great education, but B, to be a better self. And by that, I mean to push yourself, because the only person that is going to push you is yourself. And besides the try to get ready for college, you know, try to get scholarships. Why? I mean, most parents really can't even afford college. And that was one thing that my mom said, you know, you have to pay for your college. You have to find a way to get there. And for her, it was more of trying to challenge me to figure out how am I going to get from step A to step B. I don't just ask somebody, oh, I want to go to college, or I want to do this, and then I get there. I have to challenge myself to get to that level. So back to answer your question, I think determining and trying to figure out where you want to go, what you want to do, basically being involved in your high school as well. Teachers always say, especially when you get to your senior year, apply for college. What colleges are you interested in? And usually it's kind of astonishing. When I was a sophomore in high school, they were like, what college do you want to go to? And I was like, what? Duke. And I only said that because I had a Duke hat that my cousin gave me a while back. But I think it's great. Things that like Audrey are doing are going to different schools, even middle schools, and telling them about different college programs. Also, when you're getting involved, you get to see about different scholarship opportunities that are there. You know, they do also college tours and getting ready for that as well. But I think to be proactive, that's probably the number one thing as well. But is there like a specific question that?
No, I wanted to know what is your role? What do you play in this? You know, trying to prepare, what is your message to students that are freshmen in high school that need to get ready? What would you tell them based on what you've done with your life?
Basically to be proactive. That's be proactive, get involved, take charge of your career, and you're never too young to start. I think that's one thing that I kind of realize. Everyone's like, you know, you have a couple years, just wait. You don't need to know what you need to do yet. Or a lot of people say, what is your passion? What do you really want to do with your life? And I'm like, I don't know. And some people were saying, you know, it's okay, you have time, you can wait. And other people are like, no, you need to figure out, what do you think you want to do? Try to chart out your path. You have advisors, you have mentors, but at the end of the day, you are the only person who can push yourself to that goal. So definitely be proactive and soak up a lot of knowledge. And I know they said only when you're a baby, you're truly a sponge. But I think at any age, you can soak up a lot of knowledge, be around people who want to excel just like you do and want to move to next steps. Get involved in a lot of programs. In your high school, there's programs, and even outside of that, I did programs like ACSEL through the NAACP, LEAD, which is a summer program, and different colleges offer free summer programs to come just to experience that life. And just getting involved, being proactive, and staying on top of everything you have, because soft skills you need to have while maintaining great grades. I don't know how I can push that enough. When you're in high school, when you start off your freshman year, if you kind of mess up, it sucks. Because when you start, it's a fresh slate. So you need to always establish a high GPA, get involved, know what you want to do, and not just for the resume or to get into college, but to know what you want to do in the future.
Well, I know Ms. Darletta has always talked about if you wait till you're a junior, you waited too late to apply for a college, and we'll get back to that. Now, Ms. Idolia?
Idalia.
Idolia, well, okay, we'll get to that. All right. What is your role? I mean, you kind of gave me some wording before on what your role is and what do you do and how you got to this point in your life based on your education.
So I think being a first generation Latina, you know, my parents come from a country where education is not easily attainable. So the only option is to get a job. That's it. So coming from that, you know, my family constantly, my mom always said, you know, where are you going to work? ¿Dónde vas a trabajar? Constantly, you know. That was what was always on my mind, and not necessarily college ever. So I remember I started working at a very young age. my parents are undocumented, and so is my sister. She's a dreamer. So that me being the only U.S. citizen in my family forced me to start working really, really young. And when I remember being in my lunch breaks and thinking, this is not fair. Like, my friends are at the mall doing these and this and stuff, and like, this is not fair. And I need to find something better, like something that will give me a brighter future than just a $300 paycheck every 2 weeks. So I guess I just decided that that was not all where I was going to get to. Working at Panera was not going to be it. So I remember I started looking at scholarships. I started looking at colleges. My sister, being a dreamer, was very hard for her to just simply go to college because she did not have a social security number. And that was, approximately almost 10 years ago. So nowadays, we have DACA, we have the Illinois DREAM Act. So that gives access to more students to go to college. But back then it was a lot harder. So it also took my sister a process, and then me being the first U.S. citizen in my family to actually apply to college was also a challenge because I didn't know anything about FAFSA. My parents could not provide a social security number for the FAFSA. They filed their taxes differently. So it was a whole new process to me. And I guess now that I'm older, it still frustrates me when I hear students say, I can't apply because my parents aren't documented. I'm like, no, you can, So that's where my role comes in, where I'm saying, I work in the community and I'm constantly trying to push and find those students that were in my shoes about 7 years ago. So that way their process is a lot easier than it was for me.
And it's not just for students, I understand you work with, it's adults as well.
Yes, so I also work with adults, and we work with all types of things that have to do with becoming a resident, becoming a citizen later on. For students that are undocumented, through DACA that we fought to get, they can now work. So they now have work permits. They now have social security numbers. They now have driver's licenses. And also adults now have TVDLs, which is temporary driver's licenses. So now their parents also have driver's licenses. They can drive around without fear of being deported ever. So it's a lot of things that have, there's a lot of good things that have happened in the state of Illinois for the undocumented families. So now it's gotten a lot easier.
Wow. Audrey, okay, let's talk about this. What do you tell students when you go into the school, elementary schools or middle schools or high schools? What are you telling these students when you go in there? Because you play different roles.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell them a lot of things, but one thing I like to tell them the most is that when I was in high school, I didn't really utilize my counselor because I went to a huge high school, Homewood Flossmoor High School, and there was counselors there. And my community, everyone pretty much went to college in that community. But my parents didn't really have the knowledge about the process for college. So what I like to tell students is, please use me. I'm here. I want to help you. Don't be afraid. ISAC, we call it a near peer mentor because students see me more as their peer more than their teacher because I'm not that much older than some of the teachers there because there are a lot of young teachers these days. But I tell them to use me and make sure they are not afraid to ask questions. That's one thing that I learned in life, to always ask questions. Ask and it shall be given. That is so true because if you don't ask, you don't know. And if you don't ask, you don't get what you want. So that's one thing I always tell students, even middle schoolers. Ask about the classes you should take in high school to become a firefighter or to become a doctor. Same thing with high school students. I talked to sophomores today at Romeoville about their Explore test. A lot of them didn't even know why they were taking the test. They take this test. Students are used to taking standardized tests all the time, but why are we taking this? So I broke down what the World of Work Map means to them and how the things they can do to raise their score for their plan their sophomore year and then for their ACT their junior year. So that's the first thing I tell students. Please use me. I went through training for a long time. I have all of this knowledge packed in my head, and I want to share because when I was in high school, I didn't utilize my counselor because she had such a heavy caseload, and we didn't have anybody from ISAC coming in to talk to us about college. So that's one thing that I always tell them. Please use me.
Well, and I hope they take advantage of it too. Mr. Olet, I know you've been involved in education for years, and I mean, and congratulations on your promotion to well deserved. You know, let's talk about this. Why did you decide that you want to do this? I mean, you've got kids that are high achievers, doing their thing, doing what they're supposed to do. What makes you so passionate about this?
I've always been passionate, even before my kids, even before I had kids. I was passionate because I just believe part of the reason that I'm here on this earth is to help families and children be ready to go through the college admissions process and then to graduate from college. My background, I didn't know a lot about college, kind of like you, Audrey. I actually went to high school overseas my first 3 years, so I really didn't know a lot about it. And when I came back my senior year, my counselor wasn't very helpful, and my parents and I had to figure it out. And thankfully, things worked out well for me, but I realized that there are a lot of students out there that have incredible potential, that have incredible gifts, but are never able to see the fulfillment of that because of lack of information. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this. Here, I've lived in Bolingbrook for over 20 years. Now I work at Valley View School District for Bolingbrook and Romeoville. And when I go to our buildings, I see our students, and I honestly think to myself, when I'm seeing students, what will they be in the future? You know, what wonderful gift do they have that needs to be shared that we might not even see right now? And so I found out about this college application month. Actually, it was last school year, and it was after college application month then, but I signed up then because I wanted us to be a part of it. I want to increase awareness. I want people to start talking about college. I want when our students are out in the community, when they're in the grocery store, when they're at their place of worship, when people see them, they say, hi, you know, how are you doing? But I want them to ask them, what are you planning on doing with your future? You know, have you thought about college? What colleges are you thinking about? Because I want there to be a consciousness in this community that our kids are able to be successful, and there are many statistics that we can talk about how college, and when we talk about college, it doesn't mean that you have to go to a 4-year college. It can be a 2-year community college. It can be a trade school. You know, some students even decide that they're going to further their education by going into the military. The military does training and apprenticeship. But it is very difficult to be successful in our society without getting some kind of education after high school. So for those kids that say, hey, I'm going to get my high school diploma, I'm done, you're not done. You're just beginning. If you really want to be able to support yourself, support your family, and have that satisfaction in your career. So, you know, partnering with Illinois Student Assistance Commission is wonderful for Valley View School District because we do have counselors that have heavy caseloads. So having Audrey be able to come in, talk to our students, talk to student groups, she's an expert when it comes to financial aid, when it comes to college applications. She has been extremely well trained, and so we can have our students go to her with confidence that they're going to get good advice. So that's what College Application Month is about. But it's not only about the seniors in high school applying to college. In all of our Valley View schools, we are going to be observing College Awareness Month for those students that are not seniors. So I thought about it. I said, okay, College Application Month is for those kids that are seniors to apply to college, but in order for them to be ready at 12th grade, we've got to start earlier. So we started kindergarten with our kids, making them aware of college and that they are college material so that they don't think, I couldn't go to college, you know, I'm not good enough. Yes, you are. So in all of our elementary schools, in our middle schools, each school is doing different things. They're doing workshops, they're doing rallies. Some schools are doing door decorating contests. Some classrooms are adopting colleges, and they are learning about those colleges. These are elementary school kids learning about those colleges and writing about those colleges. Some of them write letters to colleges. Some are having people from colleges come to the classroom. All of this to help our students be aware of what is available to them, so that in the future, when we get to senior year, we probably won't even have to have a big push for October application month, because all of our kids will be ready when they hit that door at the beginning of senior year to apply.
Wow. Let's talk about your education. I mean, first 3 years overseas, and the good thing about you, and I've noticed, you can talk to Hispanic, you very fluent in Spanish. I mean, let's talk about your education. I mean, brag on yourself. I want these young people to see where you came from and where you are and where you've gone.
Well,
I think it's important for them to know that.
you know, it's interesting. When I think about my background and I think about my family, my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, could not read or write. She literally signed her name with an X. And my mother was the youngest in her family, and she was the first to graduate high school, and she was the first to attend and graduate college. So my parents had high expectations of myself and my brother. I told you that when I was in high school, we were overseas. I was a military brat, Air Force, and that's why we were overseas when I was in high school. And I was a very good student, but when I came back, I realized I didn't know that much about colleges to go to, and it was time to apply. So I had one school in mind that I was going to apply to, and I applied to that school, and my parents told me, you have to apply to at least one more school. I don't need to do that. This is the school I'm going to. But my parents insisted, thank God, because I was admitted to that school, but when I went to visit the school, I didn't like it. So it's really important, you know, students to visit colleges. It might be, it's nothing wrong with that college, but it might not be a good fit for you. And when you're looking at colleges, that's what you should look at. Look at a school that is going to fit you academically, that's going to fit your personality, that's going to fit your budget as well. Although I don't believe in not applying to schools because of the price tag, because you have to go through the financial aid process to know what it's really going to cost. So anyway, to get back to my story, I didn't like the school, and I was very much devastated when I visited it, but my parents had forced me to apply to another school. Well, I didn't know about schools, but when I had taken the SAT, we didn't take the ACT, we took the SAT my junior year. When you take those standardized tests, you send your scores to different colleges. So I'm looking for colleges, so I hate cold weather. I know, why am I in Illinois? And so I chose California. I said, you know what, I'm gonna send my score to the best schools in California. And I did. And then they started writing me to apply. So that's how I chose that second school. I picked one of those schools that were inviting me to apply in California. And it ended up being Stanford University. And after going to this other school and not liking it, my parents said I can go for what at that time was called Black Recruitment Orientation Weekend. And so all of the African American students that were accepted, you could go out and they would have you stay in a dorm with the student, attend classes so that you could experience the college. And I did, and I loved it. So I got an excellent education, college, and then after college, I was hired for a job back in Chicago. Didn't want to come back to the cold, but it was a really good job. And as part of that job, you worked at this company and you did rotations. It was a bank, First Chicago back in the day, which was one of the oldest banks in the country, but they also wanted you to get your master's degree. So they paid for me to get my master's degree as part of this First Scholar program. You had to go to either Northwestern or University of Chicago. So I chose University of Chicago because I'm a numbers person. And so I got my MBA for free from the University of Chicago. So I've just really been blessed, and and I say it's the grace of God, because I'm not smarter than a whole bunch of people, but fortunately I had the right people in my life to give me the right guidance, and it opened up the right opportunities for me.
Wow. And you talk about right people in your life. Brittany, how important is that to you, or was it to you, to have the right people in your life to make the right decision to get to where you are?
I think it's everything, actually. and I like how pretty much everybody was hitting on opportunities. And there are so many opportunities that are given to everyone daily. It's just how you take advantage of those opportunities. I think that's the main thing that I've kind of seen with our whole group is we were given opportunities and we jumped on everyone, no matter if it's, I don't know what this outcome's going to be. Maybe I don't even think it's an opportunity. I think it's just something nice to go to. I remember back in my experience in high school, my mom would encourage me to go to different conferences. And at that time, I had other friends like, why are you going to this conference? Why do you have to dress up? And I'm like, I don't know, it's boring. Who knows what they're going to do? But every time I went, I didn't notice at that time, but I learned more of networking. I see people interact with people on different levels, and that paid off to me when I got to college because I was able to talk to upper administration. It's like, oh, okay, well, this is not that scary because you had that experience back in high school. But it's taking advantage of things that are right in front of you is I don't know how important to stress that. I know Audrey was talking about as well, saying that there's so many things that you can take advantage of even in high school. And I think I didn't utilize all those as well when I was there. Definitely seeing your counselor, because they know pretty much everything, the ins and outs, especially talking to even upperclassmen. If you think about once you get into college or even in high school, the juniors and seniors are the people that have been there. And they've been there, done that, and they know it all. So learning from people as well is a great thing.
You know, I have to say something. Brittany is really being very modest.
I know she is.
Because the thing that I love about Brittany, you talked about networking. Brittany is the best networker that I know because it does open up opportunities. When she went to SIU Carbondale, I'm going to tell it since she's not going to tell it. As she said, she did meet upper administration, but she got involved. She got involved in ultimately student government. She was the president of student government for the entire university as a junior, right?
Yes.
As a junior. And, you know, she's been homecoming queen. But besides all of those wonderful things that Brittany has done, she had incredible internships starting freshman year because she made the connection with the right people and she followed up. She followed up. You know, you can't depend on people to chase you. When there's an opportunity presented to you and people tell you about it, and, you know, even if they say, I'm going to contact you, you contact them if they don't contact you in the timely manner because it's an opportunity for you. So Brittany had excellent internships and she was able to navigate her way to an incredible job with Accenture. And I'm just extremely proud of her. But what Brittany did, and that's what she's saying to the students, you can do it too. You can go to college, you can be successful in college, and you can have a successful career. And just like what happened for me, just like what happened for Audrey, just like what's happening with Idalia, we are not the exception. It's for everyone.
Idalia, and she just pronounced it so I can get it right, Idalia.
That's going to be your homework tonight.
That's my homework for tonight, right. In talking about that, you have people that come to you that are undocumented, but they really want to do the right thing for the right reason. What would you tell them? They tell, I can't go to college. I mean, I don't have what it takes. I'm Hispanic, I'm undocumented, I don't know what to do. What would you tell that person? You can tell them in English and Spanish if you want to. They need to know, because there are a number of people out there that really want to do the right thing, but they don't know where to go for it or how to do it.
And I will go ahead and say it in Spanish because, you know, I don't want to just stereotype that the majority of the people that are undocumented are Hispanic only. But I'll say it in Spanish and then I could probably translate here and there. I'm so used to translating myself. It's just funny. But the first thing that I would say is that it's a lie that you can't go to college. So, you know, es una mentira que no pueden ir a la universidad. We are in the friendliest state in the country for immigrants. So that is it's huge, you know. Estamos en el país más amigable para los inmigrantes. And I always tell them, there's a right way to do it. So si hay una forma correcta de hacer las cosas. As far as if you are a U.S. citizen, as a student, and you have undocumented parents, when you fill out the FAFSA, you can actually report when it's asked for their social security numbers, all zeros. And it will be processed. So para la FAFSA, si usted es si su hijo es un ciudadano de los Estados Unidos, y usted es indocumentado, para la FAFSA tienen que poner todos ceros cuando le piden el seguro social. So that stops a lot of people because they see, oh, I don't have a social, so they just don't fill out the FAFSA. So that is a lot of money that the student is losing out because they're not filling out the FAFSA. Also, si el estudiante es indocumentado, no pueden aplicar por la FAFSA, pero tenemos muchas becas. So if the student is undocumented, there is a lot of money out there. In 2010, we passed the Illinois DREAM Act, which encompassed that, one, it gave undocumented students in-state tuition because they were considered out of state, they were considered not residents, so they had to pay out of state even though they lived here and they had graduated from a high school in the state of Illinois. So for many years, students were paying out of state tuition. So en el 2010, cuando se pasó el Illinois DREAM Act, todos los estudiantes ahora van a recibir el mismo precio por la universidad que recibirían aquí en vez de ser fuera del estado. So that gave them that opened huge doors to our community. And also for DACA, ahora que se recibió DACA, a lot of our students are able to work legally. So that's like a huge victory. So ahora por medio de DACA, muchos estudiantes ya pueden recibir trabajo para ganar dinero para aplicar, para ir a la universidad. So that was a huge victory, and those are little small steps that we've taken, that we've conquered for our youth. And for the Latino families, I always tell them, I didn't have the right people in my life in the beginning, because I know Brittany, it's great, and I love hearing when people say, oh, I'm kind of jealous sometimes, personally, because I'm like, I didn't start off exactly the right way. I didn't have the right people. I always had more of the go to work, this is what we came to this country to do. That was what I used to hear all my life. So you have to be a rebel, and that's what I turned out to be. I told my mom, this is not cool. I don't like this. This is not how I want to live. This is not how I want to live for the rest of my life. I want something different. So, you have to be the rebel in your family and say, this is not the way that it's going to go. And a lot of it was me being the parent to my parents. Because I had to say, hey, this is how you do things. This is how you go to this. I have to go to this conference because of this and that. So I didn't have how Brittany explained that her mom will push her to the conference and you'd be like, oh, where do I have to go? Right. For me, it was like, Mom, please let me go. I really want to go. And my mom, especially coming from our culture, which they are very traditional for girls, where they protect us to an extreme level that is kind of ridiculous, but they protect us. But yet my little brother can go out and do many different things. He has more freedom. So that's kind of just a culture. But we have to break that. So, I used to tell my mom, Mom, I'm going to stay after school. I swear it's only 1.5 hours for this meeting. It's a club. And I'll be like, what is a club? You have to come home and wash dishes, and you have to learn how to be a woman and stuff like that. So that was the culture that I grew up with. But, throughout the years, I have seen how my parents have changed and how I have taught them that things are now different. That as a woman, I don't necessarily, my only role is not to cook and be in the kitchen and maintain a man. That my role is to be in the community. My role is to be a student. My role is to, have a successful career. That's what I want to do in my life. So having to teach that has been a struggle, but now that I look back, it has now been a victory.
I think one commonality too between everyone is seeing that everyone's has that go-getter attitude, and I think how she said of breaking out and being the rebel, you have to go after what you want. I know Ms. Payton, you were just talking about that as well. But if you want something, you have to take the steps to get that. I noticed that too at universities. A lot of universities, more like top 10 and Ivy League, they have recruiters come to them for jobs. So if you need something, they'll have maybe resume workshops, and then the recruiters are on campus for you. But at other universities or even associates programs, if you see a specific job you want or a specific dream goal that you want to go to and you feel like you can achieve it, you have to have that attitude and that perseverance, like, I'm at point A and I'm going to get to point B. Not just to have a goal, but you set out objectives and ways to get there. And I think that's where you kind of go back to the idea that anybody can do anything they want and go anywhere you want. You should never limit your goals or your dreams or where you want to go. It's like you were just saying as well, if you want to get somewhere, you can. It's just sort of planning out and seeing, I need to get here. So what is going to get me here? Maybe talking to a friend or a like-minded peer, talking to your counselor, talking to anybody that's around you that you feel like is a positive influence. 9 chances out of 10 can help you and know something that you probably don't yet. So that's sorry, I just thought that as well.
And
That's a good point.
Oh, I was going to say another thing is everybody takes a different route. Everyone doesn't take the same route, I guess is probably a better way of saying it. You know, when I went to college, my 3rd year that I was in college, my brother, who's younger than me, graduated, and he went to college. He wanted to be a marine biologist, so he went to college out Long Island University in Southampton, New York. Well, it was very expensive, and my parents could not afford to pay for both him and for me. So what I did is I stopped out of school and did incredible internships with some of the top corporations in the country. I went back to Spain. I did an internship at a bank. And what, you know, some could see as a negative, like, oh, you got to stop out of school, you know, because your parents can't afford right now. I turned it into a positive because when I came back and I went to the Career Center and the recruiters came, I had a 1.5 years, 2 years of incredible work experience. So that put me head and shoulders above other applicants who just had a degree, but they didn't have experience. So that was the route that I had to take. Idalia, you started off at Joliet Junior College, right? I would like for her to talk about that because a lot of our students start off at Joliet Junior College. Some get their associates and they stop, and some continue on, like Idalia. Can you just talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so it's actually a funny story. I didn't apply to JJC until, I'm gonna say maybe August 1st. I'll be honest. And that was because I didn't know what I was gonna do. Honestly, I remember I was working at a restaurant, and you know, I was just, at that point, as much as I wanted to go to college, I knew my parents couldn't afford it. I knew that, you know, I hadn't even filled out my FAFSA. So I was kind of like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I just said, you know, I'm just gonna take the semester off. And I remember like those words coming out of my mouth, just, you know, they burned because I had been preaching everybody, go to college. And then, you know, I wasn't gonna be able to do it because I actually was facing the struggle. So I found a great lady who I remember saw me. She's like, you know, Idalia, you're so bright. You've been moving and shaking people at Romeoville High School, and like, you know, you have to go to college. What about you? And I was just kind of like, yeah, that's really not gonna happen. And then she said, okay, I'm gonna help you. So I remember it was like maybe it must have been like August 1st because I remember it was like the first week, and I applied to JJC. And then a week later, they emailed me, they accepted me. And then they sent me like my username and all that stuff. So I went to the school. This lady, wonderful lady, which I still keep in touch with. She helped me out with everything else. And then she told me about the payment plans and how that was gonna work out. I said, okay, payment plans, I guess I can work this one out. And then she told me about the FAFSA, and that's when I learned that I could apply for FAFSA. Even though my parents were undocumented. So when I learned all those things, and then, you know, I was able to get involved, I landed a job at GGC as the student worker of the Office of Multicultural Student Services. And that was simply because I was being nosy. I got that job for being nosy. And I think like every opportunity that I've had throughout my life has really been just because I've been really nosy. But I used to sit there in the computer lab because I just felt comfortable. because there was a lot of Latinos there all the time. So it was just kind of like my comfort zone instead of going to upstairs to the library. So that's where I would go and study. And then, one day they told me, you're looking for a job. You spend quite a lot of time here. And I was kind of like, oh, that would be great. I'll get a job. So they told me about the job, and it was a part-time. So I started working there. And then I was there for 2 years. Then I took a semester off. And then I went over to help out my parents and stuff at home and work really hard. And then I went over to NIU. I'm now back home for this semester working a campaign and with the community, and then also because we're working on my dad's immigration case. So they kind of needed me back home instead of DeKalb. So, kind of like what you said, it's okay to take that semester off if you're struggling or if you're not, if things are, going rocky, say, hey, it's okay to take that time off and say, but what are you going to do with that time off? Are you just going to go work in a retail? Probably is not the best choice. Let's leave those jobs to high schoolers, Go get that internship. Go get that, a nice job. Do something, with that time off. Travel or whatever it is. So, now I'm working. I'm working for the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. They do amazing work. Hopefully, when I go back to school and then I graduate, I can go work for them again. But it's about, and then how you mentioned the networking, because it's during that time when you're able to do most of the networking, which is really, really important to do.
And I like how you said too to sort of leave those jobs for like those people in high school. I like how you were sort of pursuing your passion and where you wanted to go. I learned in college was a guy by the name of Michael Haywood. He's the head of Minority Affairs. He always told me a job means just outside broke. And I never understood what that meant until I would work like some jobs. It would just be minimum wage. And I was like, why am I not making anything? And then I saw what taxes were, and I'm like, okay, I'm really not making anything anymore. And then going to an internship and saying, I might want to work here, and pursuing your passion and then turning that job into a career. So for me, whenever I want to go to another, well, people call it job, I always say, I'm entering my career. I'm going to another career. And they're like, why do you not call it a job? I'm like, because it's not a job. It's something that I'm pursuing. It's my passion. It's a career. So I like how you were stating, like, you can take time off, but you want to pursue what you want to do. And in college, I think that encompasses whether you're in college for 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, you want to find out, what am I passionate about? What do I want to do? Not just to learn your core curricular classes or just to party. It's about a balance. It's about finding yourself, finding what you want to do, and steps moving forward.
Oh,
Go ahead, Audrey.
okay. To add on to that, what I like to tell high school students, I like to tell them about my story a little bit, because I made a lot of mistakes. Even throughout college, I went to U of I. And before I went there, like I said, I didn't really have anybody to tell me about college. And I think it's all about pivotal moments in your life and just learning from each moment that you have or each person that enters your life. So I had a academic advisor at U of I, and she was like stalking me before I went to U of I, because I didn't know how I was going to pay for school. And I got a scholarship, but they sent it to the wrong address. So I didn't get it till like 3 weeks before school was in session at the University of Illinois. And this lady, she was like on my back, like, you need to come, we want you here. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have pretty much made it through college at all. I worked in college, I worked at Walmart. And sometimes I thought, well, I'm making money here. Maybe I can chill and make some more money and pay for all the fees that a lot of colleges don't tell you about. There's some fees you have to pay for, there's books, there's laboratory fees that people might not know about that I didn't know about, because I didn't have anybody that had the experience with college talk to me about it. And I made it my business to talk to people around me. I was friends with seniors and juniors, and they were telling me what boys not to talk to, what parties not to go to, what days are best to study, what days I should take off from work to take time to study. So you have to listen to people that are around you, people that have the experience. And that's something that I've done always. And also with students that are undocumented or might not think they're going to have the support. There's support in college. There's clubs for everybody in college. There's a Harry Potter club at U of I.
You have a Quidditch one?
Yes, there's a club for everybody. There's something for everybody to relate to. If you feel like you can't relate right now, there's clubs in high schools that I've seen at numerous schools that I've been at that I wish that I was a part of when I was in high school. And also I wish that my friends and myself knew. And I'm trying to tell these students now, like, you have to take advantage of everything. Yes, you're young. Yes, you cannot go back to high school, because sometimes I know I talk to adults and they're just like, man, I wish I was still in high school. Or, man, I remember I was at prom 30 plus years ago. Same thing for me. It wasn't 30 years ago, but it was it was a few years ago. And I was ready to leave high school. I was like, I can't wait to get out of my parents' house. Same thing in college. I was like, I cannot wait to get out of college. Yep. Now I'm sitting here, I'm like, if I could just go back and just, you
Good
know.
old days.
Yeah, the good old days, because reality does hit you fast. You have to grow up. But I think, like, talking to middle school students, I love talking to them because they're just like, what, college? Why are you talking to me about that? And I'm like, well, you have to prepare for college. So when you go to high school, make sure you're not taking too many gym classes to make up electives. There's art classes you can take. There's mechanics. My little brother was in the auto club for pretty much his whole high school career. Now he wants to be a mechanic. There's so many classes you can take to prepare yourself for a career. And I don't only like to push, like you said, not pushing four-year college, because that's not the only route. You could go to the military. You could go to vocational school. Jobs these days, they're looking for experience. They're looking for transferable skills. They're looking for you to have some type of certificate or degree, and that's what's important. I always show this slide provided by ISAC about how much people make when they don't have a high school diploma to how much people make when they have a doctorate's degree. And students are like, well, I mean, I want to make that much money. And I'm like, well, these are the steps you have to take. And I'm just like, look at the people that only have a high school diploma, not bash anyone that took that route. Because sometimes you can go from high school to a career. My parents did it. So, but I'm saying, like, the society that we live in today, as times are getting more advanced in technology, businesses are looking for a job. I remember when I worked at Walmart, I'm only going to talk about this one more time. People used to come in there and they used to say rude things to employees at Walmart, like, you guys are uneducated, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm in college right now. This is my job. And just to let you know, that assistant manager right there, he went to college, you know? And there was people at Walmart that were interning to become a store manager because they make a lot of money. And I was telling students, like, what do you guys think about Walmart? Do you think those people in there are educated? Little do you know, that assistant manager, that store manager, they have an associate's degree, they have a certificate. So a lot of jobs that you might not think need a degree or certificate, they actually do. So it's important that they pursue those things.
You know, I got to say this.
Sure.
You know, you talked about coursework, and it's important for students to really talk to their counselor and their parents when they're choosing courses to take what is called the most rigorous courses that they can manage. Most rigorous means the most challenging courses, because those are the classes that help prepare you for post-secondary education. So when you've gone through 3 years of math and you really only need 3 years of math to graduate, take that 4th year of math. Because when you get ready, you know, it's one thing getting into college, but a lot of colleges you have to take a placement exam. And that placement exam determines what level of courses you will be in when you get to college. And if you have forgotten all of your math, then you might have to go into what they call a remedial class that doesn't even earn credit, but you're still paying for it. So take the most rigorous classes that you can while you're in high school. Another thing I want to say for students, when you apply to college, there's an application fee. But we have about 60% or so of free and reduced lunch in our schools at Valley View. If you are on free or reduced lunch, you can get waivers from your counselor for those application fees. So, you know, your parents might say, I don't have money for that. If you're free or reduced lunch, you can get a waiver for college application fees and for taking standardized tests as well. So there's a lot of things that are available to try to make things more affordable, but people don't know about them. So that's the reason we're here, to just give you some nuggets to encourage you to go and talk to your counselor, go and talk to Audrey on Tuesdays at Bolingbrook and Thursdays at Romeoville, so that they can help, arm you with information. Knowledge is power, to help get you to that next level in your life.
Wow. I knew the show was going to go pretty fast, because of the amount of information. Can you take 30 seconds and leave the viewing audience with something that is just out of this world? 30 seconds before we go. Go ahead.
Well, I want to promote College Application Month to close out. I will be at Bolingbrook and Romeoville High School, and students can actually sit down in the computer lab during the day and fill out an application. A lot of kids are saying, oh, I don't have time. Well, you're going to have time at school. So that is so important, because people get lazy when it comes to filling out applications for college or scholarships. I will be right there, be in a helicopter, helping your students out and helping students out to fill out that application so they can move on. Okay.
Brittany?
And also, just to piggyback real quick, would you want to fill out 350 words for $10,000? See, it's that easy. Writing an essay for money, that can help you, but be prepared. That's pretty much my thing. When you start in middle school, you need to be prepared for high school. They say take these classes so you can be prepared for high school. In high school, they tell you take these AP courses so you can be prepared for college. In college, they say do these internships and get high grades so you can be prepared for your future and your career. So just always be prepared and think about that next step and take advantage of your career. People are there to advise you and to help you, but ultimately, you know what you want to do, so be prepared and take charge of your career.
Okay. Olivia?
I can say, very quickly, si se puede in Spanish. Yes, you can. I mean, Cesar Chavez said it, and he said it specifically to us. So, si se puede, adelante. And also, parents, para los papás, dejen que sus hijos salgan adelante. So for all the parents, let your children really be who they are. Don't, in our culture, we have a lot of well, yo quería ser doctor. I wanted to be a doctor, so you're going to be a doctor now. No, you know what? Let your child be who they want to be and allow them to discover that passion and to discover who they want to be and allow them to express that. So.
Nolena, you?
Well, October Application Month is the beginning. I would like for the people in the community to go onto the Valley View website or their local school's website to look at the workshops that Audrey will be doing in the evening. She's already started, she's already done 2, and there are more to come. That in January, we're going to start talking, we're going to start talking about it before, but in January, it's close to January 1st, we want people to apply for the FAFSA. Audrey's going to be doing workshops for the FAFSA, and actually we'll be taking parents and students into the lab to apply for the FAFSA online. And then May 1st, which is the day that students have to declare where they're going to go to college, we are going to celebrate all of our seniors for what they're going to be doing after high school. If they're going to college, the military, apprenticeship, we're going to be celebrating them in May. So stay tuned. There's a lot that we're going to be doing this year for our students in our community.
Wow. I want to thank you ladies for being here. Sitting here with these brains just makes me feel like I'm just engulfed, with knowledge. First, I want to thank the camera people that are doing this, because we can't have a show like this without the volunteers. And I know that Brittany's mom is on the camera. You can tell how the focus was. But we want to thank them, because they could be at home doing whatever they do, but they're here to make sure that we get a message like this out. So I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. This was a great show, and I can't wait to watch it myself, A lot of knowledge, so thank you for being here. My name is Leroy Brown, and this is Bridging the Gap.
Thank you.